Hello, hello. First, I apologize for the mess behind me. I am moving this week, so my bedroom is like half put together, so I do apologize. I also did not upload last week. I apologize again. I'm a distracted girl, okay? I get distracted easy. My life is busy, and I'm tired. But here I am. I got distracted, and it wasn't a great distraction. It was a lesson. Damn. It was a lesson and it was a test. I think I passed the test, if I'm being honest. Not with flying colors, but I passed the universe's test. And that's all that matters. You know what I'm saying? I chose myself, which I think is really on par with also look at Jude's foot. Look at Jude. Judy. Jude is my dog, if you are listening. Choosing myself, I think, is really on par with kind of what I wanted to talk about and kind of what I've been learning, but maybe rephrase a little bit. Picking myself with the intention of like inner child focus, a little bit of being the adult that maybe my inner child needed me to be, / letting my inner child be a part of my daily life. And what does that look like? And letting her be heard. I think that's a big thing for me personally. And I mean, I think all of us could maybe do that more, but I know me personally, I'm someone who it's important for me to feel heard, maybe not understood, but to feel heard. And so letting her feel heard in my decision making in my daily life, like that is stuff that's important to me. Giving her room to feel creative and to feel present is also really important to me. Again, I think it's important for everybody. That could literally just be like a psychological whatever. You know, if you go to a therapist, they're gonna talk about inner child stuff. Like that's nothing groundbreaking in my opinion. But also if you want to talk about like woo-woo shit, I have mentioned that I have a 5th house stellium in Aquarius. My inner child likes to be weird and she likes to have fun and like themes that are important to my life. My life thrives when I have the freedom to be creative, to be childlike. Like those are things and themes that are important in my life. So no wonder I'm touching on those things now. I guess I'll kind of go back a little bit into where inner child work maybe started for me years ago in therapy. Like I said, go figure. I started learning about this concept and the idea of it and going from there. And I really started with journaling. I would just kind of like freehand journal back and forth a conversation with me and her. When I say her, I am going to reference like my inner child as if she is separate from me. If this is a new concept for you, maybe I should explain a little bit more. Think of literally like the youngest version of you, or maybe a version of you when you started really feeling like that wound, whatever core wound maybe you have, whatever age you were. Or if you can't really think of it and it's not really coming to you, maybe just try and think of yourself as a child and whatever that first version is that comes to mind. For me, an example is I tend to think of like my 5-year-old, 8-year-old-ish self, sometime around there, like still really young, but old enough to be noticing things. And I think about all the time I spent alone and all the things that I liked to do alone. Maybe start there. And you don't have to think about the negative things, but you can just think about, you know, what kind of child was I? What did I like to do? What do I remember about myself? And then start connecting maybe dots that feel consistent about yourself as a child. Maybe you really liked playing outside. Why did you like playing outside so much? What did you do when you were outside? What did you do with your time? Like your free time as a child, what were you choosing to do with your time? I spent a lot of time alone. I really did enjoy being with other people. I loved being with other people. But when I look back, I did spend a lot of time alone. And I was always doing imaginative play. I was always listening to music. I always had the radio going. I would do like the weirdest imaginative things, whether that was like my Barbies or playing house or whatever by myself. I would play vampires by myself. I would color a lot. I did a lot of art by myself. I used to take shoe boxes around my house and little items that I could find, and I would design like my dream bedrooms. Like I was a very artistic and imaginative kid. That's what I did a lot with my alone time. So when you think of like this inner child or like this younger version of yourself, when you're trying to start connecting to it, like I said, I like to be heard. So I did a lot of journaling. I did a lot of like conversation. I would kind of maybe sit and like meditate for a second before I would start journaling, like trying to connect with this version of myself and welcome her in and let her know like, hey, I'm here. And I think for me, it was important because my inner child did not have a lot of trust in me because she was not used to me picking her, letting her be heard, making decisions that made her feel safe. And the point in doing inner child work and connecting with that part of self is to do that, is to start showing up and saying like, hey, I am a trusted adult. I am someone who can make you feel safe and heard and whatever it is that you need or they need, right? And for me, she did not feel like I was someone who chose her. She felt like I was someone who was mean. I was mean. I was really mean to her. And she felt like I was someone who would make promises to her and then go back on my promises. And that's not wrong, especially with the place that I was in life and the decisions I was making, the relationships I had around me, not wrong at all. You know, thinking back about how I said we're going to discuss inner child as if it's a person removed from me, and I say the term her. When I think about her and the relationship that I was trying to build with her and the journaling I was doing and the thoughts I would have with her and, you know, the dialogue that I would have either in my journal or in my head or in like the therapist's office, there was a lot of promises I made with her that I failed because I don't know. I was used to certain habits. I wanted certain validation now. I wanted certain relationships now. And what I noticed was she did play a big part in my decision making. And she did play a big part in the emotional roles and things that I was doing. But overall, there was a lot of things that I did to make her feel unheard or unwelcome. You know, when I would envision her, I would literally envision her hiding. I had this bedroom probably when I was like 10 years old, and I would envision her hiding in the room, pitch black, in like the corner of the room. It was kind of sad to think about her doing that from me. I like to think that I'm an individual that children tend to feel safe around, or I really enjoy being around children. I love them. I love nannying. I love babysitting. I love playing. Like, I'm someone who very much looks forward to being a mother, and I always have. So the fact that there was a piece of me that was childlike, that was scared of me, felt really odd. I just didn't like that. I didn't like that I was someone who was untrustworthy in a child's, you know, whatever, air quotes, a child's eyes. So I had to build a relationship with her. And I've done that. So here I am now. I think I'm still in a place of working on that relationship. And what I mean by that is she feels much more safe with me. She is an active part of my daily life. Not every single decision, but ways that I seek out joy, or ways that I find self-expression, or ways that I choose to make myself feel comfortable or safe. A lot of things that are just for me and self-care and things that I do really just for the sake of me and feeling safe, feeling vulnerable, whatever. She plays a part in those decisions. When I even manifest, I like to picture her with me. And I like to picture, you know, they say when you're manifesting to kind of envision the feelings you would have at that moment. What kind of joy, what kind of excitement, whatever. What feelings would you have? And I like to, especially if I'm trying to decide if this is something I truly want, you know, if I'm manifesting or if I'm thinking about a goal and long-term vision, when I think about myself there, having that thing, living that experience, and I'm trying to decide if I really want that, and then I decide that I do, or I'm really trying to attune that emotion so I can manifest it, bring it forward. I like to picture her there with me and what kind of joy she would feel and what would she be seeing, or how excited would she be in that moment? What kind of ways can I make her feel more comfortable? Which is funny because as an adult, some of the ways that I know she enjoys or feels more comfortable, I feel silly. I feel a little embarrassed and a little quirky. And one example is when I was little, I used to dance for fun all the time. I was not in dance classes, I was not a dancer, but my mom and my nana both loved when I would dance. And they would, make my aunts and uncles watch me dance in the living room and just silly stuff like that. And my mom would cook dinner and I'd get on the countertops and I'd dance while she'd cook. And so when I started wanting to bring my inner child forward, and that is something that I would do, is I would dance around my room while I cleaned, or I would dance around my kitchen while I cooked my dinner or my breakfast. And I find myself doing those things now and really enjoying doing it alone now. And it sounds silly, but it's genuinely just something that feels fun and brings me joy. And I will dance for my dog. I don't like going out dancing with my girlfriends or to the club or anything like that. That is never my first choice for fun with adult friends ever, but you will catch me doing that alone when I'm cooking or just like doing mundane stuff around the house by myself, and I enjoy it a lot. And now I kind of started envisioning her doing it with me around the kitchen and having fun too. What I think it means to kind of pick my inner child is sometimes making really hard decisions. And one of the ways that I mean that is I talked about how there were times that I was trying to build a relationship with her or gain self-trust. If you feel uncomfortable with the idea of inner child, and it feels too woo-woo or it feels too out of reach for you mentally, emotionally to connect with, maybe think about building self-trust. I think they can be two versions of like two sides of the same coin. You know what I mean? Because when you're building trust with your inner child, you are building trust with yourself, and on and on and on, right? Picking myself in little ways. And I've talked about this. When you build self-trust and you continually do the things that you say you're going to do, or you continually make hard decisions for yourself, it is a form of building self-trust. For me, with her, I noticed her gaining trust with me when I listened to her. And then when I started making really hard decisions in like this adult life, when I started speaking her truth, when I started saying things that she was too scared to ever say or feel, but I knew were important to her. If she had big emotions, they didn't have to be big emotions for me. I'm the adult, I'm the present one. But if she had big emotions, they were going to be important to me too. They're important to her, so they're important to me. I'm just the one facilitating the decision making now that I know what the emotion is and why the emotion is there. You're literally gentle parenting yourself. So I started doing stuff like that. And where it has me now in kind of this trust building process, inner child facilitating, is I'm starting to try and implement artwork more into my life, whether that's me coloring, painting. I started writing more often again, which I'm kind of really excited about. Art is always something that I come back to. It's always something that I find myself craving, and I have always just kind of doubted it. It's funny because my grandma always wanted me to do more art, and she always encouraged my art, and so did my mom. For some reason, I always just was like, well, it's not good enough, so I'm not going to do it. I felt like it wasn't impressive enough. But who cares when it's something that makes me feel good and it's impressive to me? So I have been trying to prioritize time for art, whether that's going to a museum. I want to take myself on a date soon. I love going on self dates. If you don't want to call it that, that's fine. Call it whatever you want. I love taking myself out on a date. And that means I get myself dressed up and I take myself to dinner. I buy myself whatever dinner I want, wear whatever outfit makes me feel pretty and the whole 9 yards. And then I take myself to an activity that I want. And lately I've been wanting to go to the local art museum. Either way, gonna happen this month for sure. Doing little things like that makes me feel like I'm connecting to her. When I have free time, she gets to say in what I do with my time. I dedicate a little bit of time to her, just like I have talked about dedicating some time to my adult big emotions. Anger is one that I believe deserves to be heard. I go for a run or I do things that make anger feel heard. I think for me, doing little things like that does bring me joy. And in a world where I hate the mundane, I hate paying my bills, and I hate applying for jobs, and I hate doing adult stupid shit, and I hate going to work. I hate doing adult things. Like, I know everyone does on some level, but it literally feels like peeling my skin off. I don't enjoy those things at all. I wish I could just frolic and play and be at the beach and be with my dog and have no one talk to me at all points in time. I think those things are important for everybody. I think everybody would be a lot happier in life if they prioritized 1 hour of your week. 1 hour of your week. What would little you, what would 10-year-old, 5-year-old, 8-year-old, 13-year-old you be doing for fun with their free alone time? Like, literally sit and ask yourself, and then dedicate 1 hour of your time to that thing. I don't think that's a big deal. I don't think that's a big ask. I think it's very healing, and I think it's very important. And we live in such a world where your day is so dedicated to everything outside of you. Everything outside of yourself, your responsibilities, your priorities, your lack of boundaries with other people. Why can't you give yourself in the whole week 1 hour of your own time dedicated to you and what a younger version of you would enjoy doing? A lot of people are getting better at doing things that a younger version of you would enjoy. A lot of people, at least around me, I've noticed a lot of people are big readers, going out and playing sports with your friends, whatever it is. I think those are wonderful things to be doing, because I think a younger version of you would be very happy that you're doing it. A younger version of me lately has been craving connection, me and my alone time. So that is something I've been thinking of doing. Oh, I've been thinking of signing up for an art class, because I feel like I can kill two birds with one stone. I, as an adult Caroline, would love to go to an art class. I also am trying to make friends and put myself out there in settings that don't involve alcohol. And so why not do something along those lines? Kind of what's brought me to this thought is I'm dedicating June to myself. And what I mean by that is the past couple months, I have chosen a theme for myself. What am I trying to learn, or what do I think the universe around me is teaching me this month? So for June, I think I'm having a me month. What that means is I'm doing things a little bit more dedicated to myself in terms of how am I having fun? How am I being a little bit more selfish with my money or my time? And example was I bought concert tickets early this month. On the 2nd, I got the pre-sale tickets. I was very, very excited. And so I'm going on a trip in October to Washington, D.C. Love, love, love. And I love Washington, D.C. I haven't been in years, but I know my inner child is very excited about that because she used to love DC. So I kind of killed two birds with one stone with that. I love concerts. I love traveling. I'm very excited to go to DC for the first time in a long time. I'm moving this week, and I'm moving into a place alone, and I'm getting my keys on a Friday. I'm moving on a Saturday, but I am going to go to the house by myself without Judy Booty. Just kind of sit in the house and take a moment to myself. I am going to cleanse it and just, take a moment to be excited for me. I made a hard decision this past week, and it wasn't extremely hard, but it was just a boundary that I was setting for myself. And, I thought maybe I could give this thing more time, and I decided no. I talked myself through it, and I said, there's no point in wasting more time. And I don't like the term waste because I don't believe it was a waste, but you already know your answer, so just set the boundary now. I know that my body has been exhausted, and there's been opportunities to work more physically at my jobs, and I've chosen rest over that. I've been wanting to watch the Stanley Cup, so dedicating time to make sure that I'm watching because I enjoy it and I want to. Little things like that. They are so small. But to me, when I'm someone who, like I said earlier, was not used to choosing myself often and would really put my desires and my wants on the back burner, think of how small those are. I want to watch the Stanley Cup game. Why is that wrong? It's not, but I'm not used to doing things like that for myself. I'm not used to taking small time and saying, how can I make this enjoyable for me? And that's kind of where I'm at this month, is making small decisions that make my life feel more enjoyable, making small decisions that make me feel like, yes, I want to do that. Yes, I want that. Yes, I feel like that is worth spending my money on. Yes, I feel like that is worth like spending my time doing that. Or no, I actually don't want to do that, so I'm not going to make myself feel bad and force myself to do it. No, I actually am too tired, and even though that responsibility feels like it needs fulfilled, there is a part of me that needs listened to that wants rest. So I'm going to honor that part of myself that wants rest. Little things like that. I think as I'm filming this, I'm actually realizing something about, a younger me, is that she is such a lover girl. I'm laughing because all my friends call me such a man hater, and I low-key am. I had an ex one time tell me that I was a lover, that life like forced me to be a fighter. And I definitely agree with that sentiment, but I think I'm in a place where, what would life be like if I embraced the lover girl, and what would life be like if I embraced more softness in my life? And I have been learning what softness towards myself looks like. What is life like when I am gentle with myself? Because I have not always been gentle with myself. I have not always let people be gentle with me. I think there's been moments where I have encouraged people to not be gentle with me. So what would life look like if I chose relationships that were gentle and warm and inviting? And what would my life look like if I was gentle and warm and inviting with myself? I don't know. I don't know. And I am trying to create an atmosphere and create habits that reflect that. I am trying to create a life and create habits that center, less around survival. I think that's kind of the point of inner child work, and the point of a lot of inner healing is, how do we step away from survival and into a place of thriving, into a place of being alive? As a child, you are so alive. As a child, you are so curious and full of joy, and I do believe children are naturally really giving. It's the world that makes them selfish or makes them cold or whatever. I think that those are behaviors that are taught. Those are behaviors that are learned and observed. And when given the right environments and given the right opportunities, they bring more hope and bring more hope and bring more joy to us. And especially when I look at the little child that I was, and I think about how much love I want to give her now. I've been told that when I was a baby, when I was a little kid, I was just so happy. And then as an adult, I had people tell me, you're just so naturally confident, or you're just so naturally happy. And it always really irritated me, because I did not feel confident and I did not feel happy at all. And so now I'm kind of like, what do I actually look like when I am happy and when I am confident? And yes, I have those things. Right now, I can honestly, genuinely say I'm the most confident and the most happy I've ever been. And part of that is because I have the most control over my circumstances that I've ever had. The life that I have right now has been cultivated because I made decisions entirely for myself, not for the pleasure and the approval and the safety of anyone else. Like, everything that I have right now is because I have picked me. When you are not used to living that way, it's very overwhelming at first. It's very terrifying. It's very, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? And you kind of wait for permission. You're looking for permission to make the decisions that you want to make. And you're also simultaneously waiting for the shoe to drop, because you are waiting for evidence that you made the wrong decision. I think I've very much felt that this week as I go into my move, waiting for the shoe to drop to prove to me that I'm making the wrong decision. And what's funny about that is part of my move felt like intuition. Part of my move felt like me following intuition and trusting myself, a form of picking myself. So of course, when I'm used to not picking myself, when I'm actually doing it, and I'm doing it in quite a large way, I feel like I'm waiting for things to go wrong. That is an exhausting way to live, to be honest. It's exhausting to constantly feel like something's going to go wrong, and like you can't trust yourself, and like you can't trust other people. If anything, it makes me kind of sad to think about a childlike version of me that felt that way about her environment, so much so that that's the adult that I've become. I'm proud of myself for being the adult now that would not provide such an environment, and that is no longer behaving in a way that plays into that dynamic or that way of thinking, and actively chooses myself and actively chooses my inner child, even when it's scary, even when it's hard. It's always scary and hard, let's be honest. But I'm sad to think about that I spent so many years of my life feeling that way, that it became such a core part of me. I know I'm not the only one. I know I'm not unique in those feelings. I believe that's a very complex PTSD way of being, is to not only have a very steady lack of trust in self, but lack of trust in environment as well, simultaneously waiting for permission. I'm really glad that that's not the way I choose to make decisions anymore. I know that I won't forever be the adult who every time I pick myself, I feel my whole body stress and shake and worry and anticipate the worst. I know that won't always be me. When I have operated from that place of fear for years and years, of course, it's going to take time to unlearn and to gain trust. And I am happy to say that my default is the mentality that everything will just work out, whether that's because I have trust in myself, or I have trust in God, or I have trust in the idea of detachment, and that whatever is supposed to happen will happen and unfold in the way that it's meant to be, meaning things will work out because they're supposed to, or things will possibly not work out because that means something else is supposed to take its place, whatever that looks like. I have like this underlying faith in it, even in all the fears and even in all the anxieties. My baseline is still just, it's okay, because everything's going to work out how it's supposed to. I'm very happy and very proud that that's where I'm at. And I can look back and see ways where I felt this unshakable fear of loss, or of what could go wrong, or I'm not ready, I'm not good enough, what have you. I can look back at moments in my life where I felt it so raw to my core that I was just physically shaking or hysterically crying to myself, or what have you. Look where I'm at now. Look how I've come out the other side. Not only have I survived, but I'm thriving and I'm much happier. At the end of the day, that's kind of what inner child work is showing yourself in your daily actions and in your big actions. You know, I pick me, I pick you, I pick what is going to bring us joy. I pick hard boundaries. I make hard decisions for us because we deserve that. Despite the fear, despite the anxiety, I still follow through with those decisions and those choices consistently because I believe I'm worth that. This last week, I think, was hard emotionally, but I was distracting myself, and that was kind of the boundary I set. Was like, I know I'm just operating from distraction and I need to not. So I am proud that I set the boundary and cut it short, because knowing myself 3 years ago, who knows how long I could have set the distraction, or know how long I could have done the thing and then given up on this and then given up on myself in small little forms. I think that God and universe and life will consistently test us to say, how are you going to pick yourself, or how are you going to show up? And do you mean what you say? Do you mean the promises that you set out for yourself? Do you actually want these goals? Do you actually want this? Going to be mistakes. There's going to be things along the way that suck or that are hard. It's kind of what you do with them that's important, is what I've learned. I've never really been a big regret person. I've never really been a big, I hate myself, over this embarrassing moment or over this mistake. I've felt those things, but not because of embarrassment or mistakes. I've always been pretty good at looking at things as lessons and looking at, well, how would I have done better in the future? Or how would I want better next time? Or what can I learn? How can I be better? How can I change? Whatever it is. I think I've been pretty consistently good at that, and maybe I've not learned my lesson right away. Maybe I've needed life to literally hit me upside the head with a freaking baseball bat before I learned, but I have learned. That's the point. The point is to learn and to evolve and to change and to consistently grow. And that's where I'm at. Last 2 weeks have been hard, but it's okay, because we grow, we learn, we evolve. we do better. Wins this week. I'm really excited for my move. I have been taking time to watch the Stanley Cup, and I am excited about that. It's been good. When moving, I have been choosing rest for myself instead of physical movement. And as much as I have the habit of going on runs or going to the gym, and so I am mentally craving movement, I know my body is craving rest. So I have been giving myself that. And so that's a win, is listening to my body. Anytime you listen to yourself, it's a good decision. That's pretty much it. Those are my wins for the week. Oh, and I've been indulging in creative habits that have been really, really fun for me, kind of consume my brain during my free time a little bit, and that's been exciting. I guess I told you I've been resting, so that discusses where I'm at with fitness. We're at day 60 or something like that. It went by really, really fast. Damn. So mid-July is when I'll be done with like my 100-day thing. I kind of want a cigarette. I am, for the first time though, starting to consider that maybe I should just quit. Maybe I should just be done with cigarettes. But I actually do miss a cigarette. A Camel Crush? Damn. We talking my language. Anyways, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. I do enjoy this whole podcast journey and just kind of sharing. I'm a big old yapper. Oh, I guess like kind of a funny note to touch on with the whole discussing inner child thing is sometimes when you feel lost in career and you feel lost in, what should you do with your life? They say, think about the things you loved as a kid and what you would have done as a kid, and maybe what careers you wanted as a child, or like what were you good at as a kid. And like I said, creativity, I've always been into art of any kind, but I have always had the gift of the gab. Always been a talker, always been a sharer, an oversharer, I will admit, always been a big talker. Why not start myself a pod? Why not find myself right here? Nothing makes more sense. Again, thank you for being here. I will see you next week. And I'll be in my new place. Yay! Very exciting, very happy. Thanks again. I'm grateful for you.